Okay, up to this point, we've covered object-oriented terminology, we've talked a little bit about object-oriented design and so forth. What I want to do now is show you how some of this is implemented in NetCOBOL for .NET. But before we start, I want to make sure that you understand that I'm going to keep this at a reasonably basic level, focusing only on the skills and techniques that you're going to need in order to start using NetCOBOL for .NET. You need to know that object-oriented is a very broad topic, and there's much more to learn. You should also be aware that since this is an introductory course, those advanced object-oriented topics will be covered in a future publication, or you can get that from instructor-led classroom training from Fujitsu Computer Systems. Now, let's go ahead and get started. What I'm going to do first is create a solution. So I'll come up here to File, I'll click on File, and I'll hover over New, and I'll come over here and hover over Project like you see there. And I'll click on that, and now notice what you see here. I see all of my project types here. I see all of the various templates. I'm highlighted on COBOL projects, so these are the various things that I can do with this the COBOL projects. But instead of just selecting a class library or console application at this point, I'm going to do something just a bit different. Again, I want to kind of demonstrate the flexibility to you about solutions and projects as we go here. Up to this point, you've seen me only work with projects discretely. So I'm going to go ahead and create an actual solution. So I'm going to come over here to Visual Solutions. I'm going to select Blank Solution. And of course, I'm going to name this something a little bit more meaningful than Solution 1. I'll just call this OOCOBOL. And it'll be located in the sample subdirectory. Now, notice one other thing here. I can add this to source control, of course it defaults to creating a directory underneath samples for the solution. So we'll go ahead and press on here, and now you see the Solution Explorer now has a solution in there called OOCOBOL, and there are 0 projects under it. Now there's a couple of things that you need to understand. I can have one project under a solution. I can have one discrete project out there that I could work with, or I could have a solution with many projects. And you need to understand that the solutions that you will deal with in the future can be either very, very complex or very, very simplistic. You can have a lot of source code associated with a given project and solution, or you can have your system be very, very granular. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put 2 projects under this solution. Now there are 2 ways to go ahead and create projects. I can select the solution like I have here. I can right mouse click and I can just add a new project, existing project, new website, existing website, new item, existing item, or I can create a new solution folder. And of course I can add all of this to the source control that I've got installed on my machine. Since most of you will not have source control installed on your machine, I will bypass this step. I can also see some properties about this solution. Now notice there aren't a lot of properties available for the solution. I can see project dependencies, I can see where all my debug source files are going to be, but there's not a whole lot to solution properties. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you the other way to add a solution or a project to this solution. I'll come up here to File, and again I'll go to New Project, and if I can hover over that correctly here without giving away other menus. Okay, here we are at Project, and I'll select that, and of course I can come up here to COBOL Projects and select that, and now I can go ahead and put in my class library. And class library is okay, I don't have a problem with that. It'll go into the sample subdirectory, and now in the solution it gives me the opportunity to create a new solution for that, or add this to the existing solution. I'll add this to the existing solution, and I'm good to go. And I'll say OK right here. Now notice that the entry in the Solution Explorer for the solution itself is kind of disappeared. Trust me, it's there. You'll see the class library project has sort of taken its place here. So let's look at the class library 1 project here. I'll kind of expand this so that you can see what's all in here. I have several references. I have system.data and system.xml, and of course I have a template COBOL program called class1.com. I have no copybooks in my structure at this particular point. In looking at the COBOL program, it sort of looks like a COBOL program, but there are some noticeable differences. where program ID should be, you'll see class ID, and of course you see the internal name for your COBOL program. In this particular case, it's just called class 1. And of course, at the end of the class, I see end class, class 1. Now, this phrase right here, as class library 1.class1, is how we expose this object-oriented COBOL program, this COBOL class library, to the outside world, to the .NET world. And the .NET assemblies that will look at this all reference this module with this phrase right here. We'll get more into that here in just a few minutes, but I just wanted to point out that there is a way to expose the name of this to .NET, the .NET world. Now let's go on down. You see a few other familiar things: environment division, configuration section, special names, repository. Repository is somewhat different. In the object-oriented COBOL standard, there is either a factory method or this repository that you can basically use to expose other components to your COBOL program. So in this particular instance, this repository statement helps us to expose what's in the references to your COBOL program, and you'll see more about that in just a minute. Moving on, you see an object, and again, I'd like to point out its corresponding end object phrase right here in a statement. And then, of course, you see a method and, of course, an end method. You can see how all of that is put into place. Your object, and by the way, this is an instance object, and as I indicated before about instance objects earlier on, is you can have multiple iterations or multiple instances of an instance object. So we're going to go ahead and look at that here in a little bit more detail in a second. But again, with this instance object, you have a data division, working storage, procedure division, and of course you can have a whole series of paragraphs out there for various methods. And instead of in a conventional COBOL program where you have procedure division paragraphs, you just start working with various paragraphs. All of those in this object-oriented world are implemented as methods. So let's move on here. We're looking at instance methods here. I want to go ahead and start working with a static method. Now, in order to implement a static method, I'd have to go ahead and type in the word static and then a period. And of course, I could have in there as the same as the instance method. I could have a data division, working storage, and my procedure division, and of course I could have methods. Now I could type all of that out, but being a good COBOL programmer that I am, basically what I'd want to do is lift that from somewhere else to keep me from having to type it. And there is an easy way to do that in the .NET world. What we will do is use a thing called snippets. And if I position my cursor anywhere on the editable portion of the screen, and then of course I will right mouse click, and I can select this off of this little pop-out menu here, Insert Snippet, which I will go ahead and do now. Just so go ahead and left mouse click on that, and of course I see this little scrolling list here with all of the various snippets that are available for me to go ahead and use and lift. And I will go ahead and click on static paragraph because that's what I want to insert in there. And as we can see here, I've got my static paragraph all set and ready to go. The next thing I want to do is go ahead and put in any working storage information, or I can go ahead and start working with my methods here. Now in the normal world, when you see procedure division, you just go ahead and start coding things up here. What we need to do is we need to wrap a little bit of object-oriented COBOL here around all of our COBOL logic. And of course we do that with the method. So I'll go ahead and again use another snippet and click on the method ID, and there's my method ID, and my method statements are all right here. One of the cool things about this, and this is a real time saver in this environment, is notice this box here, and of course this box here. These basically are prompting you for information about this method in ID. So what I can do is I can go ahead and click on that, and again I want to go ahead and give this a meaningful internal name here. So I'll just call this static method 1. And I'll get rid of the old stuff right here. Now, it would help also if I made sure that I had the right convention. Static method 1. All right, and all of that is squared away. Again, I'd want to make sure that this matches this, and as you can see, I just clicked on it anywhere, and again, these things are synced up real well. Now I want to go ahead and expose the external name here, so I'll just go ahead and do this right quick here. Static method 1.